Hi guys, it's Crystal. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a transfer to wood and canvas video. So we've done plenty of these in the past. One of them has over 2 million views. I think I know a thing or two about a thing or two until, bam, we get hit with a product that I had no idea. I don't know when this came out. I don't know if it's new. I just know that it's here. Let's test this product out, see if it's any different, and let's do it the way that Plaid tells us to do it. We may have been doing it wrong the entire time, and I may have been telling you to do it wrong the entire time, but it's worked. So, what is this product and what are they saying to do? All right, so what we have is the Mod Podge, M-O-D Podge, whatever you want to call it. Mod Podge, repeat after me. Mod Podge, M-O-D Podge, however you want to say it. Just so you guys know, I spoke with Plaid and they say it that way too. So don't judge me. This is a transparent matte finish and it is designed and made for transferring images. So it says image transfer medium. It's made for it. So I always recommend using this one, which is dishwasher safe. You could always use any of them, but I always recommend the dishwasher safe. But they actually have image transfer medium, and it tells you how to do it. Now on the big bottle, so if you buy the big bottle, it does not say the exact instructions, but it tells you to go to their website for the instructions. Now, if you buy it in this package, so they sell it in a small 2 ounce little package kit here, or you could get 8 ounces. On this one, the packaging itself tells you the instructions. Step 1, they're telling you to use a laser printer. Step 2, you want to make sure that you're using copy paper, not laser paper. Let me give you guys an example. This is one of the biggest questions I get is what paper am I using? So I'm going to show you today. There is copy paper and then there is laser paper. You want to use copy paper. I'm going to pull one of each out. So this one, for example, is Pen and Gear. This one is Staples. This is laser paper. This is copy paper. This is what you need to use, not this. Let me explain. All right. So let me take out a piece of copy paper and a piece of laser paper. All right, here we go. So you can see with the copy paper, you can see through that. See that stuff coming through? You can tell when it's copy paper, it's super thin and flexible. You can see through it. Like I said, it's pliable. If it's laser paper, you can't see through it. You see the solid, you can't see through that. I'll put it on top of this one. Well, actually I lie, you can. You can see a little bit through there, but not as much as this. This one is, it's movable, but not as easy as this one, okay? This is thick. The laser paper is 28 pounds and the copy paper is 20 pounds. You want to make sure and use 20 pounds or less. If there is a paper out there that is less than 20 pounds, use it. Because the less paper that's there, the easier it's going to be to come off. So to answer your guys' questions, you need to use this one, copy paper, right here, this guy. This one. I'm going to link down below what laser printer that I use. And I'm going to show you the difference really quick. I have 2 laser printers here at home. They're both Brother, but 2 different machines. This is from one of my brothers that's low, so they're both great. But this one is low on toner, and this one is not. So you guys can see the difference. I wanted to print that out. Make sure that you guys that you're not using a printer that's low on toner. Now I'm doing black and white, but there is a colored laser printer. And I'll have that one linked down below as well. So if you want a colored image, I do not have a colored laser printer. I was gonna reach out to my sister, but she recently moved and her stuff's probably a mess. So, you want to use something that you want to make sure that your laser printer is good on ink. So you're going to see the quality there. You can see the difference and your picture is just going to come out so much better. This one is low on toner ink. You can see the lines through there. It's just very light. Now I could still use this, but the quality is going to look like this, where this one's going to be nice, vibrant, and looks very pretty. So I'm going to be doing a 5x7 canvas and a 5x7 piece of wood. Now, what I did was I scaled these down. They would have actually printed like 8x10, but I scaled them down 13%. So at 13%, it gave me perfectly, you want a nice edge around it to make sure it's going to evenly be on the whole thing. Or you're going to get something like I did in my first video and have like a border, and you don't want that. You really want it to be nice and, you know, over. So definitely make sure you're going to have a border. But like I said, if you need to on your printer, just set the 13, go to scale and set it to 13%. You should get this. And then I was able to add 2 per page. So I'll be able to cut that and have them for my canvas. All right. So there's that. Now you can also print them individually like this. And just waste paper, but I was able to get them both on here. All right, I have scrap paper, so whenever we go to apply our medium to this, it's not going to get on our surface, so I've got those set aside. Today we're going to be putting it on a canvas and wood, so that way I can show you how it works on both pieces here. And then I'm using the same image, so that way we could see how it works, because if I do another image, we may say, oh, well, there was a shadow, this or that. So I'm going to do them both the exact same way, just one on wood, one on canvas. That way we can see how the medium works. I want to point out this time, I showed you guys in the past about using the brayer tools to smooth this down. Mod Podge, aka Plaid, has designed their own. They have their own brayers. Like for example, this one right here has a squeegee on the back, so you can use the squeegee or the brayer. It's perfect for the 5x7. Or they have this bigger one here, and it's like this. Or you can buy the squeegees by themselves. So they do have options out there. All of these things will be linked below. I'm going to open this, and I think we'll use this kit because I need that sponge. My other sponges are inside. All right, so I'm gonna open it up. Like I said, I've got my instructions on the back. Maybe you wanna hold on to those. Now this is gonna be a 2-day process, because on the back in their instructions, after we apply this, they want it to sit for 24 hours. What we're gonna do is you wanna shake this up very well. So we're gonna go ahead and get some of this down on our plastic, you know, Teflon sheet, whatever you've got, paper. So I'm gonna get some on here, a nice little pile there. Take your sponge, but make sure when we do this, we're going to coat it nice and evenly and make sure it's got it everywhere it needs to be. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna dip in with my foam brush, right? Got me some on my brush here. And then I'm just going to go over my entire image. So I'm just gonna give me some more. And you want a nice amount. Don't go too thin, don't go too thick. Make sure I get this exactly where I want it to be. I'm actually gonna flip over my canvas and then place this down. Just like so. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this. On the back side, I'm gonna take that little squeegee there and go ahead and rub that in really quick on this wide open piece. Then we can flip it over. I can move this piece of paper out of the way. What we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure we go from edge to edge, completely getting this thing. So the squeegee is going to help to get out any of those bubbles, because you don't want to leave any bubbles inside or any wrinkles. So you're just going to make sure you cover the whole thing. Now we can flip it again and go over that center again. You just want to make sure you squeegee everything and rub everything out smooth. It helps to flip it in this direction because this piece doesn't have something hard like this to rub against. So that's why it helps to go in this direction here. So I'm gonna go like that, flip it over one more time, maybe take my brayer tool this time. Just making sure everything's rubbed in. Now the canvas, be careful to not push in too hard here. You don't want to poke a hole or distort it. So I'm just going over my edges. Nice. Okay. All right, I think that's good. That's as best as I believe I can get it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this one aside. I've got a fresh piece of paper. Bring back in our next photo. Same thing, you want to get it on your sponge there. And we're just going to work all the way across. I'm going to flip it over however I'm wanting it and get that down. So just like that. Once I have it where I need it to be, once you get it down, you really don't want to shift it or anything like that. I'm going to flip it over, move our paper out of the way. Same thing. You can take, like this one right here has that little squeegee on the back. I can take my squeegee tool first, work out any of that excess. Make sure I don't have any bubbles. All right, and then I can roll over it nicely with that little brayer. so we're going to leave this for 24 hours. We'll be back in exactly 24 hours to finish up our project. All right, so we are back. It has been 24 hours. So now what we're going to do is get these wet and then peel off the paper. So what I have is a couple rags here, a bowl of water, and then a dish towel. So what I plan on doing with the dish towel is I'm gonna put it underneath. So let's start with the canvas since that's what we started with, just like so. So this is the canvas here. So first things first is I'm going to just trim around and get rid of this extra paper. So I'm going to flip it in this direction and quickly zoom around. All right, so what I'm going to do, you can either take a wet wash rag, take your fingers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a wet wash rag here. So a nice clean rag. I've got it on another towel to prevent any spillage on top of my table. And then I'm just going to go ahead and get this nice and wet. So I'm going to wring that out and come back. So you want to get it nice and wet. Obviously we're not going to soak it because it's a canvas, but we are going to get it nice and wet. It's like, well, what does nice and wet mean? We're just going to get it wet, if that makes sense. And then what they're saying is to let it sit for 1 minute. And then come back in with a little bit more water and maybe let it sit for another minute. So I'm just re-wetting this side. We'll let it sit for another minute and then go on the next side. So this side I'm going to use that rag. So we've got that wet rag. I'm going to wring it out. So we'll flip it around this way. Let me bring it up so you guys can see really fast. All right, so hopefully you guys can see here and tell without some glaring that I don't have anything peeling just yet. So it's looking really good. So I'm coming in with my rag this time, nice and gentle. I'm not being too rough. Working on that paper there. We'll get these big pieces going. You definitely could see how much I took off more of a layer. I'm gonna bring that up. Using my fingers, I definitely took more of a layer off on that first round. So just so you guys know. So I will say that. All right, so we're using that rag. We're being gentle. We're not being excessive. I'm going to go ahead and go back in, re-wet my rag, clear it up a little bit. Come back in and go over it again. So I will say you are getting a lot smoother results with your fingers. So I'm going to go ahead and stop right there just so I can show you guys. This is using your fingers and this side is using the rag. Can you guys see that? See all the particles it's leaving behind? So that's definitely a difference. I'm going to go back in. I'm going to wet my fingers and come back in here. And you see how much more we're getting off using our fingers. And basically the paper is using the paper to remove it. So at this point I can go ahead and take my rag and I'm going to wipe up any extra water and wipe off any extra paper there. So here we are so far. So as it's starting to dry down, you guys can see a little bit of that paper coming back through. So there's a little piece right here that you can see come off, that came off, but that's also where it's overlapping. So if I'd have folded my paper over and then used the brayer tool, I wouldn't have had any issues there. Other than that, as for directly on the picture, I haven't lost anything. So look how good that looks. All right, so let's see how it turned out on wood. We're gonna let that dry. I'm gonna wet my rag, wring it out a little bit. And I'm gonna wet this. I'm just squeezing some of the water on there. Then I'll wring out the extra because like I said, you don't want it too crazy. You're just basically wanting enough to where it's going to absorb into the paper. I'm gonna let it set for 1 minute before we start peeling it. And same thing, I'm gonna use my hand on one side and the rag on the other. All right, so I think it's been about a minute, so I'm gonna go ahead and start working into this. And like I said, I'm gonna get on this side first. So all I'm gonna do is I'm going in a circular motion, which is basically starting these paper balls, and then they just work around with each other, rolling each piece off. You can kind of go back and forth at this point. A circular motion, just whatever works best for you. And just remember to be patient and be gentle. Don't do anything excessive. So that's what that side's looking like. Hopefully you guys can get that without the glare. When it's wet, it's really hard to tell. So there is the side using our fingers. So let's go ahead and go in with the rag. So I'm going to go ahead and dip back in there, wring out the water, and nice and gently, we're going to go back in here. I'm going to start with that circular motion, start wiping and see what results we get. I'm gonna go ahead and stop right here and bring it up so y'all can see. So far, we're not losing any spots. The only thing is, same thing with the canvas, if you guys can tell, hopefully with that glare, it's leaving the paper pieces. Compared to using your fingers, the rag is definitely leaving more pieces behind. So just keep that in mind. So at this point, I do recommend using your fingers versus using the rag. All right, so at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and stop using that rag and just go back in using my fingers. See, this one's already starting to dry, and you can see that paper coming through. But the side that we did with our fingers is definitely not having those paper pieces like the one on the left where we used the rag. So hopefully you guys are seeing that coming through there. So at this point, I am definitely recommending your fingers over the rag. At this point, I'm gonna go ahead and let this one dry like we did the canvas, and now I'm gonna go back into the canvas one more time, and then we'll dry the canvas and go ahead and get the medium on that, so that way we can get it drying. All right, so far that's what the wood one's looking like, and as you're noticing, we're not losing anything. We're not having chunks come out. Nothing. Look at how smooth that transition is. And imagine this with the color laser. It's gonna look so good. I love a black and white though. This one reminds me of a sepia, if I'm saying that right. Sepia. You know what I'm saying. But that's what this color right here reminds me on this wood. It looks really pretty. Once again, everything that I've used today is linked below. Definitely look down there and you're gonna find all of this stuff. Back into this canvas one more time, we're gonna use our fingers, and I'm just gonna dip right back in there, getting some more pieces of paper off. And I'm gonna show you, as you can see, hopefully, those little pieces of paper rolling back up. So we're just getting the rest of that off there. All right, so there is this one. I have completely went over it again. Now this time I'm gonna let it completely dry, and then we're gonna go over it with a medium. And then here we go. We're gonna go back in to the wood so you can see that's dried again, and you can see those pieces of paper. So you can see how much better it was on the side where we used our fingers. There's still some, but it's a lot better. All right, so we're gonna go back in one more time. Just gonna whip my fingers and go right back in there. All right, so once you feel that you've gotten all the paper off, so I pretty much feel that's all that I'm going to get. I've rubbed on it until I just couldn't rub anymore. As you can see, we didn't lose any of our photo here. Everything looks super good. So what we're gonna do is set this aside and let both of them dry, and then come back, apply that final coat of medium, and they'll be good to go. These are completely dry now. This is what it's looking like. It's got that little bit of, you know, you can see like the white paper coming through, but this is as best as I've got it. This is how I've had it in the past, and it's worked great for me. And as you can see, there is a little bit of fibers, but not much. I'll kind of bring you up. So there's a little bit in the corner there, but it's going to be completely fine. Like I said, again, I've had it at this level and it's been fine. So that's pretty much where I always can get it. And then I just, once you go over it with that last coat of the medium, it just disappears. It's like magic. Here we go. So I'm just going to do a nice even layer. And like I said, I want to keep my strokes in the same direction. I don't want to go all over. So I'm going to do nice even strokes. So we'll let this dry down, and I'll show you what it looks like dry here in just a second. I'm going to come back in on the wood over here, and I'm going to use the opposite side of the brush. And do the same thing. as you guys could see, I kind of went in, you could grab a whole nother brush where it was clean here on the side. I just came in and cleaned up any of those harsh edges. And that will also, because as you're doing this, with adding this final coat on here, it may start to peel up whatever remaining pieces of paper that's on there. So that will help to smooth that out as well. So hopefully you guys can kind of see that there. So there is the wood one. We're going to go ahead and set it aside and let it dry, and then we'll be right back. These are the results that we got using the Mod Podge Image Transfer Medium. So this is on a canvas. So this is after it's dry. Look how good that looks. Looks amazing. It's not taking out chunks of your image at all. Once again, this is using a laser, not an inkjet. So there's that. And then here's what it looks like on wood. That came out really nice, edge to edge coverage. So my thoughts are, I highly recommend you getting some of this. Like I said, there's kits out there. You could get the 2 ounce, 8 ounce. And then I do want to say my thoughts on these. I do like these. So if you want to just have the scraper tool, it really helped to get out. You notice we didn't have any bubbles. So I don't know if it also helped by using their tools, but I used this one here, and the smaller brayer I like because it has this built in. So it's like a 2-in-1. I really like the feel of this one, especially for the smaller ones. I would probably like this one if I was doing like an 8x10. So this has basically the same roller, but it's red. So if you were going to do this one, maybe do this one with the scraper. And then if you're going to be doing some smaller projects, you can even do this with the 8x10. Maybe just invest in one of these. So like I said, these will be linked below. You can also find these things at like Hobby Lobby, Walmart. Like I said, it's going to be linked below. This is the only thing that I'm going to use from here on out for transferring my images. Huge shout out to Plaid. You guys knocked it out of the park, and now I'm pretty pumped about it. So I can't wait to do some really big canvases. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please hit the like button down below and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.